Good morning, you badass motherfuckers. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Good morning to all you motherfuckers out there doing shit today. Doing life. How you celebrate today, right? You a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday, season's greetings, or none of the above. I hope you're doing well no matter what your state of mind is, no matter what your celebratory fucking traditions are, right? A lot of people got to act like today's greater than the others. Today's the greatest gift, right? You know who's back. This motherfucker's back on here. I'm your host, Greg, and on this motherfucker. It's the All On Me, the Morning Drinking Show. We talking more shit today on what? Christmas. We can call it Christmas, right? Oh man, it's crazy how we've transformed in really a short amount of time, right? I'm 44 years old. I remember being a kid when 80s. Come on, anybody in their 40s, 30s, in the 80s, everybody was about Christmas. Everybody, practically, man, just about everybody was about Christmas. And 90s too, right? Seems like in the last 10 years we got to be like way more different, right? We can't say Merry Christmas. We make people feel uncomfortable, right? We have to be resistant, right, to Christmas, of what it's really about, and these definitions. It's got people all fucking, tongue-tied. What do I say? How do I not offend? How do I not, hurt someone's feelings? And you gotta like walk on eggshells at work. Is this a Merry Christmas place or a happy holidays or season's greetings? Doesn't that suck? Don't you guys hate it? Don't you guys hate trying to figure out what to say, who to say it to? Because this place you say this, that place you say that. And you just don't know. You don't know, right? Who you gonna offend now? Right? We live in this woke society, right? Everybody's offended by everything in this world. Fuck. And even the ones that, would be the Christians, right? Because they celebrate Jesus's birth. The birth of Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. That's what they're celebrating today. Even they're a little puffed up, right? Trying to say, hey, my belief is better than yours. Be honest. Be honest. That's how you feel, and that's good. That's your faith. But I always, I'm here to challenge you motherfuckers. Warning, caution. I'm here to challenge motherfuckers. That's what we do in here on the It's All On Me show, right? We challenging motherfuckers to do what? Become the best version of themselves, right? Quit editing yourself. Quit living life scared. Quit living complacent, right? Turn your life around. That's it, right? But too many motherfuckers, right? You say one thing, right? You're celebrating Christmas today, right? How many of y'all celebrate Christmas today? Right? And the way you're going to celebrate Christmas, you're going to celebrate the birth of the Savior, right? Is you're going to overindulge. You've already overspent. And if you just look at yourself in the mirror, you look at yourself on that scale, where's the honor? Right? Where's the true embodiment, right, of your faith, of your belief, right? These limiting beliefs, right? Beyond Christmas, what are you doing, man? You pushing politics, you pushing social issues, right? You pushing division. What are you pushing beyond Christmas, right? And that's what's so funny about this day and age, this world, this people, it's we cling to these days on the calendar as if it's greater than the other, and it's not. It's not. Sure, they're there, right? But every single day is your birthday, right? It's a day to celebrate life. Holy shit. Last night, around the world, right? Like 180,000 people died last night. That's real fucking talk, motherfuckers. 180 something thousand people died. Here in the US alone, 8,600 people died yesterday. Last night. They're not living today. There's grieving fucking people, grieving families, because guess what? They lost someone they care about. You're not one of them if you hear my voice right now. That's a pretty damn amazing gift you got today. Because it wasn't because they were old. It wasn't because they sinned. It wasn't because they did something wrong in their life. We don't know, right? We don't know when our time is up, right? And yet we take this shit for granted, right? We take this thing called life for granted, right? To us, celebrating Christmas is overspending, maxing out of cards, right? Putting up a tree, right? Overeating like a motherfucker, cookies, roasts, all this shit, right? Zero exercise, very little fucking activity to honor your true body, right? This true physical vessel you got, right? Very little time spent just really checking in with yourself, challenging yourself, saying, hey, how can I be a better human being? Right? Not just toot my horn about my faith, but really get out there in the dirt, making a difference in people's lives. Right? How many of y'all out there just truly giving of your time? I talked to one of my workers yesterday. I was super inspired. One of her family traditions, right, was they do this stocking routine, and then on Christmas, as a child, her parents took her and her sister to go and volunteer, right? To go feed at the homeless shelter. And she admitted, she said she didn't like that as a kid. They had the stockings first, then they volunteered, and then they got to open the presents after they volunteered. And again, I think that's I'm inspired by hearing shit like that. But she admitted as a kid, she didn't like that. And I know me as a kid, I wouldn't like that shit either, right? We all have different traditions. I know for me, the stockings was usually like an afterthought, right? For me, it was like the big gift, right? The big present. What did you ask Santa for, right? Did you get the bike, right? Did you get the Nintendo? Did you get the PS5, right? What'd you get? And we make such a big deal of this shit. And there's times that we get let down, right? Because maybe our parents, maybe our caregivers, they couldn't afford the shit we're asking for. I know in this day and age, not recently, but pre-pandemic, my kids, man, they wanted that shit. They wanted PS5, $700, $600,000 for a fucking video game system. And, just all the tech, right? The tech shit. It's spendy as fuck. I know when people, they get brand new cars. You get a brand new car for Christmas? Hell yeah. Good for you. You got a brand new car. That's a great gift. That's an incredible material gift, right? I could tell you this morning, right? The greatest gift that I had this morning was life first. The fact that I didn't die last night. The fact that I got to wake up. And the second gift I got was going outside, and man, woo, the sunrise. The sunrise was incredible this morning. It was like a one in, I always say about 1 in 300 days, right? You get one that's just, man, just so expansive, so colorful. It just takes your breath away. You're like, wow, there's something greater than whatever could be packaged in a box, right? There's something greater than you could put a bow on top of. Right? There's something greater than what's in the oven roasting that's just gonna do my body harm. And y'all can't get to that, right? Because you're gonna celebrate your faith. You're almost gonna kind of be arrogant about it, right? And act as if, it's like, oh, I'm just zealous. I'm all about it. But again, is it consistent, right? Because consistency triumphs anything else in life, right? If I was to say, look, I live if I was to preach the shit I preach, right? Mindfulness, right? Fitness, nutrition, personal, professional development, and then going out there making a difference. But I wasn't really doing that shit all the time. I was being a fucking inconsistent, right, hypocritical motherfucker. This shit wouldn't go very far. This shit wouldn't go very far. So everybody's got to look themselves in the mirror, right? And again, right, a lot of times you'll justify it. Well, I'm accountable to God and nobody else. That's bullshit. You're accountable to yourself, right? And you don't sit right with yourself if you ain't actually practicing what you preach, right? You put it out there. Oh, you know, it's all about Jesus. It's God today. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, people, right? Greatest gift on earth. Greatest gift ever to earth is the Savior. Right, but a lot of you just look. A lot of you process that as that's a fucking get out of life card. You don't got to do life now, right? You just show up, check the box at church, post up the fucking faithful quotes, all the bullshit, and then you get to heaven, even if you fat, nasty, depressed, anxious, right? Broke as a motherfucker, right? You get to it's the get out of fucking life card, ain't it? The faith. How many of you faith is the get out of doing life card? Living your best life, challenging yourself every single day, right? You know I'm talking to you. I'm breaking you. I know I'm breaking you. If you can even handle that, because you're accountable to yourself. Sure, you're going to be accountable to God and the universe, right? To evaluate it. I recently got asked, right, what was my biggest fear? And I used to fear failure because I have failed a lot in life. And it sucks. It's a painful fucking thing. But one of the things I forgot along my life journey is that success, right? The road to success, people, is paved in failures. And so many of us, if you've ever experienced failure in your life, right, you want to pull back. You want to avoid feeling that way again, especially depending on the level and the complexity of your failures. You know, if you've ever had a business that was successful and then next thing you know, everything collapses, fuck, that sucks. If, you know, a lot of us know what it is to fail in a relationship. That's a fucking terrible, that's a, that's a really tough failure, right? To process. A lot of us, the way that we get past failure in a relationship is to jump in another one. And then we actually become accustomed to failed relationships instead of what? Working on ourselves, right? Becoming the best version of ourselves, right? Showing up every day, not being a hypocrite, practicing what the fuck we preach, right? Even when nobody's looking, that's called integrity. That's called integrity, folks, right? And it's when nobody's looking, are you truly walking out your faith, right? Are you truly being someone that's non-judgmental, right? You don't judge people based off of them having a different faith, right? Unconditional love. Isn't that what the Lord talked about? Agape love, unconditional people. Do you understand what unconditional means? It's without conditions. You accept people for where they're at, right? Total acceptance of where people are at. Not trying to change their minds. Not trying to just show them a fucking verse in the book, right? But truly embodying your faith of true unconditional love. Loving people where they're at. Not judging them. Not making them feel uncomfortable because you're different, because you have a different belief. But just truly meeting people where they're at. Accepting them where they're at. Because that's true love. That's unconditional love. Ain't that what Jesus did? Right? I know the word. I know the book. That's what he did, right? How'd he treat that harlot at the well? Right? You remember when he rode up, the disciples went there. They were like, man, we should go around this village, right? It's full of sinners. And he goes to the well and there's a harlot there in the middle of the day. That's not when they grab water, right? And he said, you know, you're drawing from a well that's going to go dry. And he changed that woman's life, right? Because again, she was not, he asked her if she's married. She's like, no, I don't got a man. He's like, you right. You don't got a man. You got a lot of dudes in your life. And none of them's your husband. Right? He talked a lot of shit, people. Jesus talked a lot of shit, but he did it in a way that was like, it resonated with people, right? You think he walked into the temple with all the fucking thieves, right? Acting holy, right? Monetizing the temple. You think he walked in there? Please, good sir. Good morning, good sir. May I tip over your table and push aside your wares here? Fuck no. That motherfucker was tossing shit all over the place. He was getting buck wild, man. Y'all get hurt by this shit, don't you? Because you get caught up in what? Religiosity, churchianity. And you think that's a good enough measure of faith. It's whitewashed walls. It's looking and perceiving, right? It's putting a fucking projection out there that somehow you truly live in a faithful life, but you're not. You're not faithful to yourself. You're not faithful to your family, right? If you're eating like shit, overindulging, lying, cheating, who knows what the fuck you're doing behind the fucking closed doors, right? Who knows what's truly going on inside of you, right? But you put all that shit out there, right? You put it all out there because somehow it gives you a justification, makes you feel just a little bit better, right? But the true greatest gift, right, is the gift of life, the fact that you got it, and the fact that life was breathed into you, right? Regardless of a savior or not a savior, what are you going to do with the life that you got today? You go watch basketball? You go watch every single ball game today? Right? Is that the game plan? Watching ball games all day, overindulging, right? Count the calories, 1,000 calories for fucking 20 cookies, 10,000 calories with the roast and all the fixings, right? 10,000 fucking calories, man. That's my, like, that's 5 days of what I'm doing. It's crazy. It's crazy how hypocritical people of faith can be, right? And it's not just people of faith, it's people of all walks. People that their religion, right? Because we all want to subscribe to something higher than ourselves. In this day and age, many people in this country worship politicians, the political process, right? And yet that shit fucking changes every single day, right? We squirm and wiggle when politicians do bad shit and we don't want to hold them accountable because it's our team. So we make excuses, right? Because we're aligned with them. We have allegiance to them, right? We identify with these people and this color and this little mascot with our teams, right? We squirming when our team don't perform, and we've put ourselves out there that we are a fake, right? A false vessel of the team. The owner ain't gonna reply to us. The owner don't answer to us. The players don't answer to us, right? They answer to the boss, the real motherfucker writing checks. They don't answer to you buying the jerseys. They don't give two fucks, right? They got to answer to the boss, the man or woman that pays them their money, right? But y'all acting like you got weight in the games, right? And yet you just sitting there. But that's the greatest gift, ain't it? Or is it, right, the brand new car? Is it the socks and the underwear? That's the greatest gift. The candy, right? The new shirt, the new outfit, right? It's great when we can give of the abundance of our life to share in a material sense with others, right? I'm blessed right now. I'm wearing some stuff that I was blessed with by my team here. We had a little Secret Santa event, right? And they went above and beyond to get me some stuff. And I'm just like, that shit blows me away when people do these thoughtful things for me. But I also believe that I'm someone that when I'm able to be thoughtful and mindful and giving of the abundance, right? That it just flows freely. There's not strings attached. And yet so many of us, and even in myself in the past, I would literally stretch myself so fucking thin, right? Overspending, right? Just trying to impress people, trying to live up to expectations that it leaves you fucking worse off. right? And we have to have real conversations with ourselves. And it's really healthy if we have real conversations with the people that we love and care about to sort of reset, right? The consumerism and the bullshit going on in this season where everybody's just so stretched thin, right? I mean, like family gatherings, like where's the healthy food? Right? Even the rice, even the vegetables, just blasted in butter, blasted in saturated fats and oils and bullshit. It's terrible what we're doing to ourselves, right? And we're willing to just push it through, right? Because guess what? It's stress. It's stress. It's stress. You are stressed. Do you hear me? You're stressed. And as a byproduct of your stress, right, we go to the comfort food. We think it's going to solve our problems, and it doesn't. We look for anything, right, to give us some relief from the stress. But it's always external, right? Some of us, it's the vices. It's the drinking, right? Doing drugs, getting high. Eating is such a fucking big one, though. This country has to have an all-time high eating disorder rate across the board, man. Eating disorder, because even someone like me, I hold myself to the highest fucking level of accountability. It hasn't, like, I still struggle. I know when I have those stressful days. Fuck. I'll go to that mindful fucking, oh, there's cookies there? They're vegan? Good. 3 cookies, right? 800 calories. It's like, fuck. Ah. And it was probably because I was just stressful. I let my guard down, right? But again, we all want a quick fix. We all want problems to be solved in an instant, and it usually doesn't work that way. It's amazing when we can get breakthroughs, right? That do just kind of swoop through and clear out a whole bunch of old shit. But most of the time, the journey is one step at a time, right? One breath at a time, one day at a fucking time, putting in work, chalking up wins, real fucking wins, not the wins of your team, not the wins of your political party, right? Wins in your own personal life to where you say, you know what? This year, I want to be a healthier version of myself, right? And a healthier version of yourself may not just manifest itself into losing 50 pounds in 4 months. Healthier may just be what? Becoming more active, but then also tying in that nutrition to it, right? But the biggest thing that we're so unhealthy with, right, that's not as arduous as like changing up your nutrition, getting back into doing physical activity, both of which are very, very fucking important for every human being on this earth. Y'all ain't got no excuses, man. I had someone recently reach out to me about doing a very challenging event that comes up in March called the Baton Death March down at White Sands Missile Range here in southern New Mexico. And I've done it before, and it's a fucking extremely challenging event. It's a marathon hike. You know, I did it weighted with ruck. And I'll tell you, one of the things that humbled me out the most when I did it, I think it was in 2016, was seeing the wounded warriors, right? People with prosthetic legs out there doing this shit. You know, you see them out there doing that shit, not making excuses. And then I'm saying my back hurts. I got blisters on my toes. My feet are fucking burning. Fuck, this shit's killing me. Man, oh man, do we make a lot of excuses for why we can't do stuff, as opposed to making them fucking having those thoughts as why you can this year, this day, switch up, change up. This is when you start the tradition. Right now, today is when you would grow in a way you haven't grown in a long time, is if you actually changed up, right? Changed up the tradition, changed up the menu, or even just abstained. right? Some of y'all people that are so faithful, but you fat and nasty, right? You totally out of shape. You walking around like a bag of shit, right? The way that you could actually change up is, why don't you go into a fasting mode? I challenge you to do fasting today. Really get into that spiritual sense with yourself. I practice fasting. I haven't practiced it since it's been a while. I think it was May that I did it, but I usually will probably get into a state of fasting here towards the new year. Really get that clarity and crystallize the vision and the mindset and the focus for 23, for the new year. And I'm journaling already the goals, the intentions that I got. But most of you can't do it. You won't do it. And you will justify why. You will justify why you say you have this faith, but yet your faith says overindulge, eat way more than you should, which is really abusing your body, which in your faith says that's your temple. That's where a lot of people, again, if you're someone that believes in the faith, part of the faith is to be an example to others, to have an answer. And the answer can't just be Savior. That's a pretty solid answer if that is it. But you got to embody that shit too, right? People are watching you. And yet the accountability of self is so fucking low nowadays. We don't want to be accountable. And yet our self-confidence, our self-esteem is so low that we just write it off. We write it off as like, it's not a big deal. Who the fuck cares, right? I don't need to be accountable to anybody. But we know deep down inside that if we're preaching something and there's something in our life that really contradicts it, then there's conflict. There's internal conflict within yourself, right? Because the embodiment is saying, are you truly doing your best? Is doing your best just waking up, opening up gifts, and doing the same thing that you've been doing your whole life, right? Or is it saying, I want something different? I want to feel different, right? I want to have new energy. I want to have a new vision. I want to have new dreams for my life. I want to have new goals, right? I want to accomplish the desires of my heart, the things that really are deep down inside of me. And, again, I know how challenging this message is. I know how challenging the language is, the vulgarity, right? It's challenging to people to listen, right? I had someone tell me, right, they can't listen to it, or it's hard to listen to it because they got children. Is that an excuse? 90% of the shit that I listen to, I have earbuds in nowadays. I'm not just blasting it for everyone to hear what I'm listening to, right? I got earbuds in. If I'm driving in the vehicle, right, clearly I'm going to listen to something more neutral. But again, we'll find excuses for every fucking thing, right? As long as it doesn't take more work, as long as it keeps us in our complacency, as long as it keeps us living small, right? We're okay with that, I guess. I'm not okay with that, right? But if you want to be okay with that, living small, right? Not living to your fullest potential, right? Carry on. Carry on, dear souls. Carry on. But those of you that want the challenge, right, that are truly looking to switch some things up today, right, not 23. It starts now. You got to switch up now. Whenever you are hearing this message, it starts now. This is when you switch up, right? If you're someone that has an issue with lying, deceit, right, having integrity with yourself, telling people bullshit, right? You got to hold yourself accountable to that. You need to do some examining. You write that shit down. Why are you doing that? What are you so afraid of? You afraid of rejection? That sounds like a rejection wound. That sounds like you have something there to where you are afraid of losing people in your life. And you feel that if they truly knew your truth, that they would reconsider who you are and that they would abandon you. They wouldn't want to be with you. And guess what? Every one of those thoughts of fear and doubt are totally valid. People are entitled to know the truth, especially if they're in your life based on a lie, right? And it's a hard thing. I've had to do that, right? And I'm talking to you guys from a very honest place, a very vulnerable place. Like, I have been someone that has that abandonment wound, that rejection wound. And a lot of many times over the course of my life, I was unable, right, to be 100% honest with people. And it never left me feeling right. And I try to justify, make excuses, all this bullshit. But usually over the course of my life, I do value integrity. And so in those times where I know I have really violated that, right, I've had to come clean. Not because I got caught, right, but because I knew that it wasn't sin right with me and it was the right thing to do. And no matter if that person then said, you know what, I'm done with you, I'm gone. And I've had that happen. And I've also had people say, you know what, I've been waiting for you to do this, right? Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. You're going to get both. And you can't control how people react. But honesty is a really good place to start. And getting honest with yourself is really the starting of it all. Because too many of us bullshitting ourselves. We bullshit on others, right? And we're acting like that's okay. We're acting like we get to do whatever the fuck we want. Sure, you do. But there is consequences to doing whatever you want in a way that does violate integrity with others. And the journey I've been on this year has been absolutely astronomically incredible. Incredible. I mean, how many of you can literally look back a year ago, Christmas a year ago, and say my life is completely different in like the most incredible way, right? This time last year, I was unemployed, right? A lot of us experienced that during the pandemic, but I'd left teaching, I'd started another job, and I was doing really good at the job, but I was asking a lot of questions, and there were a lot of uncomfortable questions that shouldn't have been uncomfortable. I just wanted transparency. Long story short, I got fired for the first time in my life last November. And there was no victimization. I know that it didn't happen to me. It happened for me. And I said, from that point forward, look, I'm doing life on my terms again. I really felt it was the universe. It was God set me free. Because what I did and what they used as the deciding factor, I would do it 1,000 times over. I would never question what I did. But they used it as something questionable they created, well, what if XYZ would have happened? And it didn't happen. XYZ didn't happen. ABC happened. But they said, well, what if it happened? I was like, well, I don't know. I guess that would be terrible if XYZ happened. I'm glad ABC happened. I made a call. ABC happened. But what if? And I'm like, I don't know what if is. I know as a leader, I made a decision, and you're firing me based on what ifs. When I can show you what the reality is, you know what the reality is. Everything went according to plan. And yet, you just think, unemployed, right? I couldn't even afford gifts last year. I didn't want to go into credit card debt. Like, I was like, dude, this sucks. And I was building something, right? I said, look, I'm gonna go at it. I'm gonna become my own boss. I'm gonna get back to knowing what I know, which is being an entrepreneur. And I got ridiculed by family members. Where's my gift? Where's my presents? Where's this? And they knew the condition I was in. And these motherfuckers were still coming at me, wanting the gifts, wanting the bullshit, like not even recognizing, seeing me, saying, holy shit, you went through a lot just in a very short amount of time, right? A month and a half. It was about mid-November. And now I look at my life and it's just full of prosperity, abundance, health, right? Wealth, right? To that I'm giving of abundance right now. And that's an incredible thing when you can truly, right, persevere through these hard times and not just be ashamed by them, right? I'm over here being vulnerable, telling the whole world, look at this guy. But it's incredible how 1 year, right, putting in work every single day, consistency, right? Not me over here preaching about working out, right? But not working out. Not hear me preaching about doing good nutrition, but eating like shit, right? Not hear me preaching about doing mindfulness, right? But not doing any real mindfulness, right? Not me preaching about doing professional personal development, but me not listening to no books, learning no new skills, right? Not me over here preaching about making a difference in this world, but not really ever going and making a fucking difference in the world. Do you hear what I'm saying, people? Right? When you start to hold yourself accountable, right, and you take 100% accountability for what you got, and you really start listening to what you're saying. I mean, just go back and look at your feed for the last week, right? Look at yourself as an observer. Don't look at yourself as yourself. I challenge some of you to actually go on Facebook and look at what you have communicated for the last week, right? Are you someone that has been communicating joy and happiness and the Savior and Merry Christmas and your faith in abundance? And if you have, does that reflect how you feel right here, right now? Do you feel true joy, true happiness? And I'm not just saying the feeling, right? I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and yes, physically. Do you embody what you are saying and projecting into the world? Or are you really projecting something as a falsehood of what you want to feel, what you wish you felt, right? But yet you're carrying on with this whole other life. But you're putting out this false fucking story of who you truly are, right? In order to what? Have an appearance that you're something that you're truly not. Because how can you say you're something if you don't embody the fullness of it? And that takes your mind, your emotions, your spirit, and guess what? Your body. Your body needs to be a resemblance of everything you put out there, right? And you cannot have a sharp mind without having a strong physical body. Oh, but I got health issues. Guess what? I got health issues. Guess what? Someone your age, right, with even a worse situation than yours, right, has a strong body, has zero fucking excuses because they switched up the mind. They said, you know what? I'm not living my true self, right? I'm being a fucking hypocrite. I'm lying to myself. I'm lying to others. And I'm tired of doing that. I really want to live the life that I dream of, that I pray for, that I wish for, but I'm going to just keep putting all this shit out there because it's a part of the process. It's a part of, promoting what I think I believe. But if I truly believed it, then I would absolutely challenge myself to do every single fucking thing possible every single day, right? To embody it. And one of the most important things is getting your mind right, but it's also controlling what you put into your mouth, right? In terms of nutrition. Some of y'all have no fucking clue. You're eating bacon, eggs, sausage, cheese, right? Put a little vegetables in there. That's going to be breakfast. Pancakes on top, waffles on top of that, right? There's your breakfast. Then you're going to have this fucking Christmas dinner, Christmas lunch. That's going to be fucking roast, whether it's hams or prime ribs, turkeys, right? Stuffings, more fucking oils, more bullshit, right? And you're saying that this is how you celebrate life. This is how you celebrate that you have salvation. That's the get out of fucking life card right there. That's hypocritical. Your nutrition matters. How you carry your body matters. The physical form of your essence of who you are as a life force on this earth, right? Whether you like it or not, it is perceived and it is judged by others. And when you preach one thing, right, but you embody something else, right, you lose credibility with your messaging. It doesn't add up. It doesn't align. And that breaks people because it takes discipline, right? And that's where a lot of you are missing out. You want the quick magic trick. You want the salvation without the works. And that's a tough place to be when you're living a double life. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there. I can admit that to myself. I can look myself in the mirror and say, I know when I fucking was living a very double life, right? Putting on something, the whitewash walls, washing up the walls, looking all good, going to the fucking box, paying them dues, but knowing deep down I just didn't feel right. I felt like shit, right? And it wasn't until I actually started getting honest with myself, right? I had to hit rock bottom, right? And I've had to be on a 10-year journey of self-discovery, self-growth, total fucking ownership, putting in the work little by little each and every day, creating the best version of myself, saying what is the best version of myself, who would I want to see myself as, right? And then becoming that. When it comes to love, it's writing down, okay, what do I want in a partner? What would be the greatest fucking stuff as a partner? And then I had to become that. And I'm still becoming that. And I mentioned earlier, what was the greatest fear? I used to fear failure. Now, the greatest fear is, regardless of your belief, the greatest fear for me is not meeting my fullest potential on this earth. Meaning, I don't want to die and then have to meet myself along with God and anybody else, whatever happens, and not recognize who I could have been because I came up short, because I played small, because I lived in fear, because I kept listening to the doubt, because I stayed in the toxic relationship. I kept the negative attachments there, right? I kept allowing the bitch voice to hold me back instead of saying, you know what, I am gonna fucking change up, right? And it's not gonna be January 1st. I'm gonna change up today. If you've been thinking about going to school, sign up fucking today. Sign up this weekend. Like, make it happen. Action. Don't overthink shit. Because the more you overthink stuff, right, it's done. I always talk about the roller coasters. Me and my kids, we love doing the roller coasters. We jump off bridges into water and shit. And it's scary, right? Heights are scary. Fast velocity, it's scary. Getting in cold water, right? The other day, I led a 70-year-old man on his birthday at the hot springs. A 70-year-old man, I led him into the river. We were in the hottest of hot tubs. And he was talking about, man, the cold plunge, and I'm going to get in the swimming pool. And I was like, you know, there's another place you could go to, right? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, there's a river. That's the real cold plunge. That's the off the menu one. He's like, oh, really? There's a river? I was like, yeah, man. 70 years old. I took this old timer out there in the dark. He's hitting his head on the trees and shit. I'm like, dude, hold my hand. Let me just guide you. I got it, man. I got it, sonny. But I told him, look, I'm gonna do my thing, right? Because I have my routine for how I cold plunge. You know, I put my face down, I hold my water, my face. I'm laying down supine, my face holding my water, my face under the water, holding my breath. And then I roll over and I'm looking up at the stars because it's at night. The water's like fucking low 20s, maybe even upper teens. It's cold water, man. And I'm just sitting there and you get past the hyperventilating, but that shit's uncomfortable. And this guy's in there. He didn't even wear shoes out to where the river was. I was like, damn, dude, you're gonna jack your feet up. But he's out there, he's freezing. Oh man, what should I do? Where should I go? Should I be on this side of you? That I'm like, man, just figure something out, man. You're already out here. Just figure it out, dude. Do what feels right for you. You're a brave man for even coming out here in the dark with me like this. You know, new moon shit. It's fucking dark as fuck. You can't see nothing, right? But that's embracing uncomfortability. And it's when you do that, the more that you're able to embrace the things that you're afraid of, it makes a huge difference. I'll tell you what. He couldn't have been happier. He was the happiest guy, like totally fucking supercharged after doing that with me. And then we got in that hot water and he was splashing around like a little kid, 70, man. 70 years old, just splashing around, just kept coming up. Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for inspiring me to go out there. There was this other encounter I had in the hot, right? Because that's the cold. These are the extremes, the hot and the cold. And it was this couple, right? Managing the relationship, and the guy slides in. He's in pretty good shape. They're both in good shape. They're a young couple, good looking couple. And it was actually when me and the old guy we were leaving the hot tub, going to walk out to the river. And I don't always just talk to people. You guys know I talk to you, but I'm actually an introvert. So I'm not the most like social person, especially at the hot springs. It's like a quiet place. It's meditative. It's internal. But I seen this guy and his girlfriend, and the guy gets in and he's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is good. And the girl, she didn't even get in. She just touches the water and she's like, oh, I don't like this. This is too much. It's too hot. And he's kind of like, really? And she's like, let's go to somewhere else. And that sucks, right? Because when you're attached, when you're in a relationship, you don't get to have your independence. You don't get to have your freedom. So the dude's kind of like, really, oh man, because she's like, I don't want to go in there. And something just came on me, and I whispered I was just walking, I overheard this, and I was like, hey, I said, why don't you give yourself a chance? Just get in there, count to 5. Just give yourself a chance. It's super uncomfortable. You're not going to cook. Just give yourself a chance. Count to 5. And she's like, she just looked at me. She didn't even say anything. And she gets in and she did it. And she turned to me and she had a big smile. She's like, thank you so much. That helped. I was like, that's it, And I'm not trying to steal your chick, dude. I was just like, yeah, right on. I'm glad that helped. We have to get past the bitch voice. We have to open up ourselves and give ourselves permission to try something that's uncomfortable, to embrace it. That's the growth. And one of the biggest places of uncomfortability is actually sitting there in some silence, getting out there in nature and sitting there in some silence and listening to the shit that's going on in our head. It's a circus, man. It's a circus what's going on in your head. If you actually could sit there in silence, right, in nature, and actually write down some of the self-talk you got, all these defeating beliefs, all this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I'm unworthy, you're not good enough, the critical parent inside of you beating you up all day, holding you back, right? It's a tragedy, because that is really the fucking embodiment of human suffering in this world. It's the psychological, and we have to become aware of it. But you have to give yourself that permission to try something new, to be uncomfortable. And it could even just be changing up what you eat today. You get invited to a beautiful feast. Don't suffer through it. Some of you could greatly benefit on a spiritual level, right? If you're trying to honor, right, a spiritual being in the name of Jesus today, right? Why don't you become spiritual today? Real spiritual. Spiritual is not fucking just indulging. Spiritual is actually abstaining. That's true spirit, because that's what? Denying the flesh, right? And it's like the two wolves, right? Native Americans paint the dark wolf and the white wolf, right? And which you feed is what grows stronger. But if you keep feeding the fucking body, right, then your flesh is strong. Right? And it's probably too strong, to the point where it's not even strong. It's broken down because it's now fat and nasty. It's become weakened because you've overdone it. Feeding the spirit is actually abstaining from feeding the flesh. That's how you feed the spirit. It's truly connecting with that divine conscious, right? With something that's beyond the flesh. The flesh is never going to be satisfied. It constantly wants more food, more sweets, more indulgence, more rich, more this, more that, more. It's never fucking satisfied until you truly get connected with the spiritual and the emotional, because the emotional is a big part of just that brainless eating. When you guys do it, man, you go to a gas station, You know, they got small bags of chips, but then you're like, well, a small bag of chips, $5. The big bag of chips is $6.50. I'm gonna buy the big bag and I'll be able to share it or whatever. And man, you eat the whole fucking bag. 1,200 fucking calories, a big bag of chips. And you don't feel good about it. But again, today's the day. If you're truly saying that you're living and walking in the spirit and praising the Lord, hallelujah, right? Why don't you live a spiritual life today? Why don't you choose today to be a day of feeding the spirit, feeding the soul? And it don't need food. It don't need football. It don't need fucking basketball, right? Your spirit don't need any of that shit, right? The spirit needs you to disconnect actually from all that shit, right? And to find some solstice, maybe even some isolation, to where you can truly go inwards, to go upwards, to become the greatest version of yourself, motherfuckers. No matter where you're at, if this message challenges you, that means I'm doing my job here. If this message rattles you, that means I'm doing my job here. If this message upsets you, that means I'm doing my job. Because I'm going to stay true to myself. I don't rehearse this shit. I don't really do anything other than just get into my spirit, get into the flow that I am living in, and I hit go. I hit live, and I just open up and connect with all of you. Because I want to inspire you motherfuckers to become the best version of yourselves. You're not competing against anybody else, right? Nobody else are you competing with, because no one has the same starting point, right? They may look the same. They may have even been raised in the same house, but if they were born in a different year, in a different city, in a different town, but you're all related, you ain't the same. Everyone is so unique. Everyone has a beautiful gift inside of them. And it starts with the gift of life, right? How you choose to express that life in this world, that's where you're going to be held accountable, right? And when you are being hypocritical, when you have conflict in your own soul, right? It's time to start feeding it. You need to feed the soul. You need to feed the spirit, right? And whether that's more time meditating, praying, reading holy scriptures, whatever the hell it is, right? That can get you to not just constantly be consuming bullshit, whether it's food or entertainment or whatever the hell else you need to get your mind off the spirit, right? You think today is a spiritual day? Live a spiritual fucking life, because you know the drill. Results kill excuses. It's all on me. Greg's out.